Have you ever cried out in silence, wondering why your prayers seem to go unanswered? What if I told you that the moments God feels most silent are actually when He is speaking to you most clearly? In this video, we'll uncover a truth that could change everything. Silence is not absence, but an invitation. In this world we live in, with its constant noise, endless motion, and voices pulling us in every direction, it can be hard to find a quiet moment, let alone a quiet heart. But I want to tell you something today, something that may change how you approach every decision, every prayer, and every season of waiting in your life. Silence is not just the absence of noise. Silence is sacred. It is holy ground where the voice of God becomes clear. The Bible tells us in Psalm 46:10, "Be still and know that I am God." Not run and figure it out, not talk until you find the answer, but be still. Because there's something about stillness that opens the door to the presence of God. There's something about silence that invites heaven to draw near. We want God to speak, and He does. But sometimes we're just too loud to hear Him. God isn't competing with the world's noise. He's not shouting above our anxiety, our complaints, our constant striving. No, God often whispers. He speaks in the stillness. And that's why the power of silence is so important. You see, when you're quiet on the outside and on the inside, when you calm the storm of your own thoughts and emotions, that's when you begin to hear something deeper. That's when you stop listening to your fears and start listening to the Spirit of God. Do you remember the story of Elijah in 1 Kings 19? Elijah was running, afraid, hiding in a cave, and he expected to hear God in the wind, in the earthquake, in the fire. But God wasn't in any of those. Scripture says He came in a gentle whisper, a still, small voice. That's how the Lord speaks, not in the panic, not in the noise, but in the hush of a surrendered heart. Some of you have been crying out, "God, speak to me. Show me what to do. Why aren't you answering?" And the whole time, God has been waiting for you to slow down, quiet down, and get alone with Him. Because He wants to give you more than just answers. He wants to give you Himself. We spend so much of our lives trying to be heard by others, by ourselves, and even by God, but we spend so little time learning to hear. But faith isn't about shouting louder than your circumstances. Faith is about listening deeper than the chaos. It's about believing that God is present even when He's silent. And sometimes, the most powerful move you can make is no move at all. Just sit, be still, pray in your heart, wait, hope, and listen. I know, some of you are going through seasons where everything feels quiet. You've been praying, but heaven seems silent. You've been faithful, but nothing's changing. You're wondering if God even sees you, hears you, or remembers you. But I want to tell you today, God does some of His deepest work in silence. Just because it's quiet doesn't mean He's not working. It means He is preparing, and sometimes the silence is His mercy. Sometimes it's His way of calling you closer, so that you no longer chase the outcome, but you chase Him. When we learn to embrace silence, not just endure it, something shifts inside us. We begin to realize that we don't need to always have something to say. We don't need to always have the answer. We don't need to force what only God can bring. Silence becomes our act of faith. Silence becomes our worship. Silence becomes our way of saying, "Lord, I trust You. I don't have to understand, I just have to be with You." And that's what He wants. He wants your heart more than your words. He wants your attention more than your performance. He wants a relationship that isn't built on how many prayers you can speak, but on how many moments you can spend simply resting in His presence. Because when you stop talking long enough to hear, you realize He's been speaking all along. You don't need to fill the silence. Let God fill it. You don't need to rush ahead. Let Him lead. And when you begin to live that way, from a place of inner stillness, anchored in faith, you'll find that the things you were chasing begin to find you. Not because you forced them, but because you trusted the one who knows the perfect time. So today, I want to tell you, don't be afraid of the quiet. Don't be afraid of the moments when God feels distant. Don't rush to speak. Let your silence become your sacred sanctuary, the place where heaven meets your soul. Because in the stillness, He is there. And when you truly know this, when you've heard Him in the silence, you'll never be the same again. Let everything come to you naturally. Because what comes from God always arrives at the perfect time. There's a deep peace that comes when you truly understand this. What's meant for you will never miss you. Not because of luck, not because of fate, but because of God's divine order. You don't have to chase what belongs to you when your life is anchored in His purpose. You don't have to manipulate it. You don't have to force it. You don't have to beg for it, or lose your soul trying to hold on to it. If it's from God, it will come to you in His time, in His way, and for His glory. You see, we live in a world that tells us to fight, to hustle, to compete, to constantly strive. And while there's value in diligence, let me tell you this. There is a huge difference between working in faith and striving in fear. God's blessings are never born from anxiety. His will does not require chaos. His timing does not respond to our panic. Here is how you'll know. If you have to force it, it's not from Him. If you have to compromise who you are to keep it, it's not from Him. If you have to beg for it to stay, it was never yours to begin with. The Bible says in Proverbs 10:22, "The blessing of the Lord makes one rich, and He adds no sorrow with it." That means when God brings something into your life relationship, an opportunity, a dream, it doesn't come with constant confusion, endless striving, or sleepless nights. It comes with peace. That's how you know it's Him. Not by how loud it is, not by how fast it moves, but by the quiet assurance in your spirit that this is where you're meant to be. Some of you are living in fear that if you don't act fast enough, speak loud enough, or prove yourself hard enough, you'll miss what's yours. But God doesn't operate that way. What's yours is not based on your performance. It's based on His promise. And when God has ordained something for you, nothing and no one can block it. Not the enemy, not your past, not even your own mistakes. You may have taken a wrong turn. You may have stumbled, delayed, or gotten distracted. But listen, God's purpose hasn't changed. His calling hasn't expired. His favor hasn't been lifted. What He spoke over your life before the foundation of the world is still standing. He is the author and the finisher. If you'll trust Him, if you'll let go of fear and stop trying to force outcomes, He will restore everything in its season. We get anxious, don't we? We look around and see other people getting what we've been praying for, and we start to question God. Why not me? Why them now, but not me? And we forget, delay is not denial. What you see happening for others is not a sign that you've been overlooked. It's a sign that God is still working. It's a reminder that He's still answering prayers. And if He did it for them, He can do it for you. But you must learn to wait without whining, to trust without trembling, and to believe without bargaining. You must learn to say, "Lord, I don't understand the timing, but I trust your hand. I trust that what is mine, no one can take. I trust that when it's time, you will open a door that no man can shut." So many people lose their peace because they chase what was never theirs. They run after people who don't value them, force outcomes that were never aligned with God's will, and wear themselves out trying to earn what was always meant to be received by grace. Let me tell you this. When you stop chasing and start trusting, when you stop panicking and start praying, your life will begin to align with heaven's order. You don't have to live in desperation. You don't have to keep proving your worth. The Lord knows you. He sees you. He knows the desires of your heart. And He knows the exact moment they will come to pass. Don't confuse silence with abandonment. Don't confuse waiting with being forgotten. You are not forgotten. You are being prepared. And what is being prepared for you is worth the wait. You see, the blessings of God are never early, and they are never late. They come when your heart is ready, when your character is shaped, when your spirit is strong enough to carry the weight of the promise. And when it comes, you won't have to question it. You won't have to wonder if it's real. You'll know, this is from the Lord. This is what He promised. And it came not because I forced it, but because I trusted Him. Let go of the fear that you'll miss what's yours. Let go of the pressure to perform your way into purpose. Be still, be faithful, and watch how heaven moves in silence. What's meant for you will find you, not by your might, not by your power, but by His Spirit. Sometimes, the most misunderstood seasons of your life are the quiet ones. Those long, still stretches where it feels like nothing is moving, nothing is changing, and God has gone silent. There are times you pray, but your prayers seem to echo. You serve, and nothing shifts. You obey, and yet it feels like heaven is quiet. And you start to wonder, what am I doing wrong? Has God forgotten me? But today, I want to speak directly to your heart. Your quiet seasons are not empty. They are not wasted. They are not pointless. They are holy preparation. You see, we live in a world that celebrates the spotlight, the movement, the momentum. If you're not producing something, achieving something, or announcing something, it feels like you're falling behind. But God's timing is not like the world's. His pace is patient, His process is quiet, and His preparation is deep. Think of a seed planted deep in the soil. When it's buried, no one claps. No one notices. It's surrounded by darkness. It's unseen, unheard, and untouched by the eyes of men. But something powerful is happening beneath the surface. Roots are forming. Strength is building. Foundations are being laid. That seed must go down deep before it ever comes up. And so must you. There are times when God doesn't take you forward right away. He takes you deeper. Before He elevates you, He grounds you. Before He places you in front of others, He strengthens you in secret. And that season, that invisible, often uncomfortable season, is where the real work is done. That's where character is forged. That's where pride is broken. That's where trust is tested. That's where you learn to walk by faith, not by sight. Some of the most anointed people in Scripture had long, silent seasons before God ever used them publicly. Joseph was thrown in a pit, sold as a slave, and sat in prison for years, not because God had abandoned him, but because God was preparing him. Moses spent 40 years in the desert tending sheep before he ever heard God from the burning bush. Even Jesus, the Son of God, spent 30 quiet years before 3 years of public ministry. Don't despise your hidden years. God is doing more than you can see. You may not be able to explain this season. You may not even know what God is doing. But if you're walking with Him, if your heart is surrendered to Him, then you can rest in this truth. He's preparing you for something greater than you could imagine. He's shaping you in the dark so you can stand strong in the light. It's in the quiet that your motives are purified. It's in the stillness that your faith matures. And it's in the silence that you discover whether you want God's will or just His blessings. Because when no one's clapping, when the doors aren't opening, when it feels like everything is slowed down to a stop, that's when your true heart is revealed. And that's when you discover what you truly believe. There's a kind of strength that only grows in the soil of silence. The kind that holds you steady when the storms of life rage. The kind that doesn't crumble when people walk away. The kind that doesn't chase applause because you've already been affirmed in the secret place with God. That kind of strength doesn't come overnight. It comes through time spent in preparation, in surrender, in obedience, in quiet trust. I want to encourage someone today who feels forgotten. You're not forgotten. You are being formed. You're not abandoned. You are being appointed. This is not the end. This is the beginning of a deeper work. Don't rush it. Don't curse it. Embrace it. Because the deeper the roots, the stronger the tree. And when the time comes, when the season shifts, you won't have to push your way forward. God will bring you forth. There is coming a moment when everything He placed in you during the silence will be needed in the storm. When every lesson, every tear, every trial will become your testimony. But you won't be ready for that day if you skip the preparation of this one. So sit with Him. Learn from Him. Let Him shape your heart before He shows you the harvest. Let Him build your faith before He brings the fulfillment. We serve a God who wastes nothing. Every quiet season, every hidden moment, every unseen act of faith, it all matters. It's all part of His divine design. What feels like delay is often protection. What looks like silence is sacred. And what you thought was emptiness is actually the evidence of His hand. So hold steady. Keep praying. Keep trusting. Keep walking. God is preparing you in ways you can't yet see. Not to keep you hidden, but to make sure you're ready when the light shines. There is a kind of strength that doesn't raise its voice. A kind of power that doesn't need to be loud, that doesn't demand attention, that doesn't clamor for recognition. It is the strength of a soul anchored in God, the quiet power of someone who knows who they are in Christ, the still confidence of a heart that knows God is in control. This is the power of inner peace. And let me tell you, there is nothing louder than a peaceful soul in a world full of noise. You see, so many people today are caught in the constant pull of reaction. If someone speaks against them, they feel they must respond. If someone mistreats them, they want revenge. If they're misunderstood, they rush to defend themselves. But the real test of maturity, the real evidence of trust, is when you can remain silent in the face of noise. Not because you're weak, but because you've found something greater than the approval of men. Have you found the peace of God? When Jesus stood before Pilate, falsely accused, surrounded by mockers and liars, He said almost nothing. Not because He didn't have the words, but because He didn't need to prove anything. He knew who He was. He knew the mission He was on. And when you know who you are in the eyes of God, you don't need to justify yourself in the eyes of man. The enemy will try to drag you into battles that don't belong to you. He'll tempt you to defend yourself in every misunderstanding, to argue your way through every conflict, to react out of emotion instead of resting in faith. But hear me on this. Silence is not surrender. Silence is not weakness. Silence, when guided by the Spirit, is a strategy. It's trust. It's restraint. It's a way of saying, Lord, I don't need to fix this. I trust you to fight for me. Exodus 14:14 says, the Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. This isn't just a comforting verse. It's a call to trust. It's a declaration that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do in a storm is to remain still, to not react, to not retaliate, but to rest in the assurance that God is working behind the scenes. He sees what they said, He heard what they did, He knows what was taken from you, and in His time and His justice, in His way, He will handle it. Some of you have been exhausted, not because of the battle itself, but because of how much you've been trying to control the outcome. You're defending yourself on every front. You're trying to fix what only God can heal. And you've forgotten that your silence can be worship, that your stillness can be obedience, and that your lack of reaction can be a powerful declaration. I trust God more than I trust my own words. There is such clarity in the quiet. When you stop trying to make noise, you can start hearing God more clearly. You don't have to attend every argument you're invited to. You don't have to prove your worth to people who were never assigned to value you. You don't have to explain your calling to people who were never meant to understand it. Let them talk. Let them walk. Let them misunderstand. The one who called you sees it all, and He will speak for you when the time is right. He will vindicate you in the moment that matters. But until then, be still. Let the peace of Christ rule in your heart. Let your silence speak louder than your defense. The power of peace is that it holds you steady when everything around you is shaking. The power of peace is that it quiets your soul even when the world is screaming. So guard your peace. Protect your stillness. Not every battle deserves your energy. Not every voice deserves your response. Some things are best handled in prayer, not arguments. Some moments are meant to be met with silence, not shouting. And in those moments, remember, peace is your position, stillness is your strength, and silence, when rooted in faith, is not empty. It's full of power. We live in a world that tells you to chase, to force, to grab hold of every opportunity before someone else takes it. But there's a deeper truth I want you to hear today. What's meant for you will not pass you by, and what passes you by was never meant for you in the first place. That truth brings freedom. That truth brings rest. And that truth reminds you that you don't have to exhaust yourself trying to make everything happen on your own. God never intended for you to live in panic. When you walk in trust, you start to understand that missed opportunities are not failures. They are divine redirections. Closed doors are not rejection. They are protection. Delays are not denials. They are preparation for what's coming next. When your heart belongs to God, you begin to realize that you are not in control of the outcomes. And that's a good thing, because He sees what you can't see. He knows what you don't know. He's already standing in the future that you're trying to force your way into, and He is preparing it for you, not on your schedule, but on His. And His timing is always perfect. We mourn what's gone instead of trusting what's coming. But if you truly believe that God is sovereign, if you truly believe that He works all things together for good, then you must also believe that He never allows the right thing to slip through your fingers. There may be tears, there may be confusion, but there will also be peace when you finally realize that you don't have to chase what's already yours in the will of God. You don't have to beg for what has been divinely assigned to you. What God has spoken over your life is not dependent on who accepts you or who rejects you. It's not defined by a job offer, a relationship, or the timeline you had in mind. What is from God will find you, even in the wilderness. What is from God will come, even when you feel forgotten. How many nights have been lost, weeping over doors that God Himself closed? We cry over the thing we thought we needed, when in truth, God was guiding it away to make room for something greater. If He let it pass you by, it was for a reason. Maybe it would have distracted you. Maybe it would have delayed you. Maybe it would have taken you down a path that looked good at first, but would have destroyed your spirit in the end. So instead of asking God, why didn't it work out? Start asking, what are you protecting me from? Instead of dwelling on what you lost, start praising Him for what He is saving you for. Because sometimes His greatest blessings are the things He withholds. Sometimes His loudest answers come in the silence. You won't have to manipulate what's from God. You won't have to constantly convince it to stay. You won't have to beg it to see your worth. What God sends will come with peace. What God appoints will align without forcing. What is truly meant for you will carry His fingerprint, and you won't have to sacrifice your dignity to keep it. And here's the truth. When you start trusting that, you stop living in fear. You stop living in comparison. You stop measuring your life against someone else's timeline. You stop panicking when it seems like someone got there before you. You start to understand that no one can take what is yours in God. No one can steal your calling. No one can block your blessing. If it's meant for you, it will find you in the right place, at the right time, in the right way. So rest. Stop striving. Stop trying to force open a door that God has locked. Stop trying to make people stay who were never meant to walk the journey with you. Stop clinging to plans that no longer serve His purpose for your life. What is for you will remain. What is for you will return if it left and was truly yours. What is for you will not pass you by. There is such peace in knowing that your destiny is in hands far greater than your own. You don't have to chase it. You don't have to fear losing it. You simply have to trust. Trust that God knows you. Trust that He loves you. Trust that He hasn't forgotten what He promised you. Let go of what wasn't. Make peace with what didn't happen. And hold on to the truth that what is meant for you is already on its way. Not because you forced it, but because you trusted Him to bring it in His perfect time. There is something deeply powerful about learning to wait. In a world that rushes ahead, that tells you to push, to grab, to hustle, waiting almost feels like weakness. But in the hands of God, waiting is not wasted time. Waiting is not empty. It is not passive. It is a sacred space where God shapes your character, deepens your trust, and prepares your soul for what's coming next. Waiting doesn't mean doing nothing. It means doing what you can do, while trusting God to do what only He can do. It means staying faithful in the small things, even when the big things haven't yet arrived. It means showing up with humility, serving in silence, and walking in obedience, even when it seems like no one is watching and nothing is changing. We often think of waiting as a delay. But what if it's not a delay? What if it's a design? What if the waiting isn't keeping you from the blessing, but preparing you to carry it? God isn't just interested in giving you the promise. He's interested in making sure the promise doesn't destroy you when it comes. That's why He teaches you to wait. That's why He puts you in seasons where the door is shut, the light is dim, and the only thing you can hear is your own breath in His quiet voice. But I want you to know this. He is not absent in the silence. He is not idle in the waiting. He is working behind the scenes in ways you can't yet see. He is arranging the right people, the right timing, the right moments. He is aligning your heart to His purpose. And though it feels slow, it is sure. Though it feels hidden, it is holy. What He's doing in the silence is often the most important work of all. You may not understand it now. You may feel like you're falling behind, looking around and seeing others running ahead, doors opening for them while you're stuck in the hallway praying for something to move. But let me tell you, what God builds in the dark is stronger than what man builds in the spotlight. What God does in the quiet places will outlast what the world rushes to create. You are not forgotten in the waiting. You are not unseen. Just because the phone hasn't rung, just because the opportunity hasn't come, doesn't mean God is done. In fact, He may just be beginning. You see, sometimes God slows you down to speed you up later. Sometimes He says, "Not yet," because right now would ruin you. Sometimes He holds you back not to punish you, but to protect you, because the future He's preparing for you needs a version of you that is still being formed. Think of Joseph in the pit. Think of David in the fields. Think of Moses in the wilderness. Each of them had a calling. Each of them had a promise. But each of them had to wait. And while they waited, God shaped them. He humbled them. He refined them. He stripped away what didn't belong, so that when the moment finally came, they were ready not just to receive the blessing, but to carry it with wisdom and strength. When God makes you wait, He's not just working on the blessing. He's working on you. Because the weight of the blessing will crush you if the foundation of your character isn't strong. So don't waste the waiting by wishing it away. Lean into it. Embrace it. Ask God, "What are you trying to show me here?" Learn the lessons of stillness. Let patience do its perfect work in you. Because patience isn't about passively sitting. It's about actively trusting. And when the time comes, and it will come, you'll look back on this season, not with regret, but with gratitude. You'll see how the waiting wasn't a detour. It was the path. You'll see how God used every quiet moment, every tear, every lonely prayer to build a strength in you that could not be shaken. So don't rush what God is doing. Walk faithfully. Trust deeply. Wait patiently. Because those who wait upon the Lord, they don't waste away. They rise. They soar. They shine in His time. And when He finally moves, you'll realize the waiting wasn't in vain. It was preparation for glory.